Many people have left the Trump train. Some people are still on it. Some people still try to benefit and profit off of the Trump train. And now there's this new spin of this situation that Trump and Steve Bannon, they're still the good guys, supposedly. And there's a neocon takeover of the Trump administration. And now it's this battle between the good guys and the bad guys in this administration. Ladies and gentlemen, that is just the latest crazy spin from guys like Roger Stone or Alex Jones. There never was a good guy Trump. There was never any reason to get serious, honest reason to get on the Trump train. And this charade we see now, this guesswork of many people out there, who is advising Trump more than the other, and who is influencing Trump more, and what is Trump going to do next? And is he really doing his own thing? Is he listening to Kushner? Is he listening to his daughter? Does he make snap judgments? Is he unpredictable? It's all nonsense, ladies and gentlemen. Trump was the establishment guy from the very beginning, and I warned about that from the very beginning. And this phony, fake unpredictability is a huge ploy, especially for foreign countries who do the same kind of guesswork, that who's running Trump and who's advising Trump and what's he going to do next. I warned about Trump from the very beginning, and I had every reason to do so. I had a high confidence he was going to break most campaign promises very early on, and I had a very high confidence that his entire transition team and subsequent cabinet was a horror show. So my analysis was thorough. I got a bunch of literature. I got a stack of books, and I got ebooks in addition to that. I read his stuff. I read books about him. I read books about his family. I read some stuff about the Reagan campaign, or reread some stuff about the Reagan campaign, because this is all just a repetition, right? Both candidates, they campaigned as rebels, anti-establishment rebels, and then they filled their campaign team and their administrations with insiders from the CFR and Skull and Bones in these places. So, of course, I read about what Trump was saying during the campaign, what his advisors were saying. So, it was solid work, solid research, nothing special, wasn't a hard case, wasn't any magic involved, just basic research. Doesn't make me special. I was thorough, and I actually did put in the work and put in the hours. And unfortunately, a lot of people apparently didn't put in the hours. They didn't put in the necessary research, and they just hopped onto the train. They treated this whole topic, and they treated their own media work like some sort of short-term day trading investment. Oh, let's see where the wind is blowing from, and hop up onto something, some vehicle, some train, some trend, some hype, benefit from it, profit from it, ride that wave, surf that wave, and when that wave starts to crash, when, the stock is going down, you jump off and you go to the next thing. So, with a lot of people out there who jumped onto the Trump train, it was just opportunistic motivations, right? It got you attention, it got you money, it got you a whole lot of new audience. So many people were just greedy. A lot of people were just lazy. They didn't do any research. They just read what other people in the alternative media industry were saying. Some people just followed the Russian campaign, the Russian propaganda campaign for Trump and against Hillary, blindly, right? Of course, you could have said after a thorough analysis, okay, Trump is an establishment guy. It's gonna be, another New World Order administration, and you have to fight that as an administration. But, well, maybe that would have been a speculative argument. Probably it's better if Trump gets in than Hillary, but they're both pretty horrible. And they both have health issues. They both have kind of mental issues, it appears like. And they're both dangerous people, very narcissistic, probably worse. So that would have been a thorough analysis. That was the analysis that I made. Not a hard case. Not at all. Some out there maybe even deliberately lied to their audience. Deliberately deceive the audience. Because some of these folks out there, some of these alternative media people out there, they knew that Trump was a scam. They knew his basic history and the basic history of his family, you know, the casino mobsters and all of it, and the ties and the horrible transition team. So there's no neocon takeover. It was neocon to begin with, you know, with all these people, all these horror show people and Skull and Bones people and Goldman Sachs people in his transition team. And Rex Tillerson and all these guys. That was pretty out in the open very early on. So not a hard case. So it's just a lame excuse. It's another deception to now come out that Trump has shown his true colors and people are angry. To come out now when it's too late and say, oh dear, there's a neocon takeover. Trump still is a good guy, but you know, neocon takeover, and we gotta stick with Trump. We gotta help Trump, otherwise, you know, the bad guys are taking over. It's just baloney. It's just a lame excuse of these phony journalists who were completely wrong, who didn't know what they were doing, or who were deliberately deceiving their audience for money and power, or even deceiving the audience for the sake of the Russians, because the Russians, for strategic reasons, they wanted Trump in and not Hillary. So that might be one motivation out there for certain people to jump on the Trump train. And at some point, of course, the Russians were getting concerned and frustrated, and that's when, according to reports, the Russians ordered their own propaganda campaign to be toned down. You know, it wasn't like Trump is the political messiah anymore. It was more like, oh, let's just wait and see. And a lot of these alternative media guys who always seem to echo the Russians, they echoed the Russians once again. And suddenly they changed their stance from Trump is the messiah and the Holy Ghost is protecting him, switched over to, oh, well, maybe, you know, we'll just wait and see. You know, this might be okay. And of course, after the airstrikes against Syria, the Russians were mad. The Russians were hopping mad. And now, of course, then the alternative media, they echoed that and said, oh, no, we're mad too. We're angry too. And now most of them, or some of them, they've kind of used the fallback position of Trump is still the good guy. We still have to support him, but it's a neocon takeover and, you know, it's going to be bad. So this is the situation we have right now in the so-called alternative media. So, I mean, the Russians, they even recycled some of their old Cold War KGB manipulation slogans. You see, you can watch one of the videos on my channel about Russia always meddling in Western elections. That's a normal thing that unfortunately happens every time. And so the Russians just dusted off their old slogans from the KGB era and said, Hillary means war, Trump means peace during the campaign. That was kind of this idiotic, simplistic propaganda line. Hillary is going to lead America into World War III. Everybody's going to die. Of course, she's dangerous, and of course, there's a danger of a world war. But, you know, it's like, how can you say it's just Hillary that's dangerous and Hillary's going to kill us all, while Trump means peace? The same slogans were used by the KGB in the past. But, of course, many so-called truthers, they don't know anything about that because they don't read. Alex Jones has admitted he doesn't read. He hasn't read a single book in 5 years, and the 5 years before that, he read a few books per year. So in 10 years, he read maybe 20 books or something, at best, which is a disaster. So of course, you still have the investigation against Trump and the investigation of some of Trump's friends, but as I've already explained, Trump would make a much better CIA asset, and Manafort and Carter Page and these guys, they would make much better CIA agents than Russian assets, right? And I can't imagine, personally, I can't imagine guys like Paul Manafort being able to meddle in Ukraine and all these areas without CIA approval. And of course, it's speculation, but there's still the investigation. And the Kremlin wanted Trump over Hillary just because of the shady deals between Trump's camp and Russian oligarchs. And the Russian oligarchs, they blur the lines between robber barons, intelligence assets, and mafia dons. So they wear different hats. And so it's also Trump and his people who blurred the lines between robber barons, possible intelligence assets, and mafia dons. So Trump's casino friends and New Yorker underworld contacts are hairy enough, but the bigger picture is this. If I was running the CIA, I would have recruited Donald Trump a long time ago, and Paul Manafort and Carter Page. They're international businessmen, you know. And actually, one of Trump's former associates, Felix Sater, he chose to work for the CIA in exchange for an easy way out of a dangerous court case. Isn't that interesting? So Trump's former associate, Felix Sater, was, bullied into working for the CIA. So for the CIA, it's easier to build up people and wait for them to get contacted by the Russians. It's much easier than just to, try to send agents to Russia. You just build up your agents and wait for the Russians to suck them in. So the Russians first thought Trump, Tillerson, and the others were pushovers, but soon the disappointment and frustration took over. According to reports, the Kremlin ordered to tone down the propaganda campaign for Trump. Magically, the Western alternative media followed this new line and adopted the new wait-and-see approach, instead of calling Trump's deception and admitting that Trump has tricked them all. So, Alex Jones and others, they should have apologized to their audience for their complete and utter incompetence of fueling a baseless Trump hype for months. Trump was not particularly hard to analyze, and there was never any evidence, proper evidence presented for the claim that Trump is going to save America, that Trump loves the people and he wants to fight the New World Order. Was never any credible evidence presented. It was just a bunch of claims and supposed high-level sources that told Alex Jones all this. I mean, of course, Alex Jones knows high-placed people. Alex Jones has high-level sources, but these sources are just there to manage people like Alex Jones. It's just, if Alex Jones's core audience is 3 million people, and just 1 million of that went out to vote for Trump, that's significant. That's a payoff for the Trump campaign. So, of course, they're going to feed different media outlets and they feed different groups and people out there to push the Trump campaign. And Alex Jones's foremost reporter, Paul Joseph Watson, officially left the Trump train. He should have never gotten on the Trump train. Others like Kurt Nimmo had left InfoWars months earlier, and they were against Trump from the very beginning. And once the rocket attack against Assad was on, once Trump had made that decision, or people around Trump had made that decision, and once the Russians were angry, Alex Jones released a video denouncing Trump as a mere carpetbagger of the conservative renaissance who achieved a few things here and there domestically, but who is now swayed by the neocons. So, wait a minute, wasn't he presented as the political messiah? Alex Jones never apologized for his big mistakes, and he never apologizes unless he's absolutely forced to, like in the case of Pizzagate and Mr. Elefantis threatening to sue him for possibly a lot of money. So, Alex Jones and others, they have adopted a schizophrenic position. On his website, Infowars.com, Trump gets trashed, but on the radio show, Jones keeps defending Trump, spins everything just the way Roger Stone wants it to be spun. So they paint this phony picture of Trump and Steve Bannon are the good guys, while McMaster, Priebus, and Kushner are the bad guys. While Trump pulled all of these guys in. Trump had a horrible transition team during his campaign. There's no surprise here. There's no good guy versus bad guy fight in this administration. Trump does not decide anything. The establishment wants the world to believe that he's a decider who is impossible to predict. We're supposed to do these wild guessing games, whether his daughter Ivanka changed his opinion about the Syria strikes, or whether it was McMaster or the Jewish Kushner, his son-in-law, or whatever. This phony unpredictability is designed to keep foreign powers guessing and making it harder for them to plan ahead. So Jones and others refuse to admit they made the biggest blunder of their careers and failed at a basic level as analysts. So their financial survival hinges on spinning the events unfolding and keeping the myth of Trump alive. They're choosing their careers over the interests of the American people. So Trump promised to fulfill the wishes of the Kremlin, and now he plays hardball. Promised the wall, which might be years away and legally challenged. Promised America first, but now the jobs continue to disappear to Mexico. He promised to get out of NAFTA. He's now staying in NAFTA. Promised to block China's slave economy, but now he wants a sweet deal with China. He attacked the Federal Reserve Chief Yellen, but now she may well continue in her post. And of course, he put a total insider, a shadow bank, Carlyle Group insider to oversee the Fed. So Trump demanded to stay out of Syria, then his people suddenly demanded Assad to be removed, and on and on and on and on. And there is so much more misery to come. And we can learn so much from this whole debacle, ladies and gentlemen. But if we don't learn anything from it, you know, it's a true disaster. So there's so much more bad stuff to come from Trump. The deregulations for his Wall Street buddies who fill up his administration. Of course, the weasel Roger Stone keeps telling the audience that Goldman Sachs has no control in the White House, even though there's now like 4 or 5 high-level Goldman Sachs people, former presidents, advising Trump or whatever, or having cabinet positions. And there's going to be new aggressive military moves, new wars, new terrorist attacks, more torture, less freedom. It's endless. How is Alex Jones? How are they going to spin all of this during the next 4 years without looking completely insane? It's just another Charlie Sheen situation. Narcissistic showmaster, pushed by Jones and others, who keeps telling the world he's winning all the time, while everything keeps crashing down. So even those who are now disappointed in Trump and who voiced that disappointment, even though they should have never gotten their hopes up, a lot of those people, they still praise another questionable head of state, Vladimir Putin, in Russia. So these so-called analysts, they've been completely and utterly wrong about Trump. They put all this trust and all this hype into this narcissistic insider. They were completely wrong, but now they say, well, you should still believe me when it comes to my praise for Putin. You should still believe me when I say my professional opinion is that Putin is a great guy and he's a Christian conservative and he's going to save the world, or he's going to fight the New World Order, even though the reality is much different. Vladimir Putin is an incompetent, narcissistic nobody who got a bit lucky on his way into power. Putin has no idea about the economy, about military matters. He's been a lousy spy his entire career. For a short time, they made him head of the Interior Intelligence Agency for a few months to make his resume sound more impressive. So a lot of these so-called truthers out there, they still only attack Western elites, attack NATO, but they always defend Russia. And that is horrible. That is absolutely horrible. And the investor Max Kaiser, who has a show or had a show on the Russia Today channel, recently told Alex Jones that, by the way, Putin said hi. He was serious about it. Jones was invited on a major Russian TV show by noted fascist and anti-American Alexander Dugin. And Jones returned the favor weeks later. If Jones had bothered to read some actual literature about this Dugin guy, he would have noticed that this dude is a monster. He's a deep, deep occultist, has been his entire life, and he's a noted fascist. Well, he wants to combine elements from fascism and communism. And this guy is vicious, and he hates individual rights. He hates individuality. And of course, when he tries to fool somebody, he just says what the other guy wants to hear, what the audience wants to hear. It's all just about conservative values and all that nice sounding stuff, and so on and so forth. But it's like you gotta be smarter than that. You know, you need to know who these people are. You need to read all this literature. And Jones's regular guests from the past are all Kremlin-loving stooges like Paul Craig Roberts, Webster Tarpley, Daniel Estulin, Adam Kokesh, and many more. And it could have all been so easy. Just could have called Trump and Putin for what they were. But now Jones and other Trump hypers are backed into a corner. And like windmills, they wave their arms trying to explain to the audience why anybody should still listen to them. But now we know they failed spectacularly. Anytime there's something more complex, more complicated, they absolutely fail. Yes, they can bitch and scream about the police state and all this bad stuff. You know, that's the easy thing. That's the easy topics. But once it gets slightly more complicated, they fail. Or they, I don't know, maybe they sold out. You know? You know, where's all those millions coming from? You know, where's all this money coming from? Where's all that money coming from? That's an important, interesting question. And, well, maybe we'll get an answer about that at some point. And of course, it's in the interest of Western elites that domestic patriots get into bed with the Russians so you can destroy those patriots as criminals and traitors. So that's a trap you should definitely avoid. And of course, it doesn't mean that there's never going to be an honest politician, that there's never going to be anybody you can believe in. It's not about crushing hope, right? It's just about being professional and being smart. Still, to this day, there's not a shred of evidence that Trump had the best interest of the American population in mind. He's always been just a greedy businessman. His entire life, or most of his entire life, is known to us. And it looks pretty bad. And why should you believe empty claims and what unnamed sources were telling someone? Why should you believe that? So we can learn a whole lot from this debacle, and we called it early on, and it wasn't particularly hard. So please subscribe to this channel, like this content, share our content. Please comment below. I tend to answer a lot of stuff in the comments. Well, check out the entire channel.